got 3 coming through right now.
Dude, I already
3.
I'm landed and everything. What you talking about, Willis?
I'm doing 4. That's how good I am.
Whatever. It's 3 laps.
3 laps for wimps.
I hit a tree way up there. Hopefully I fell down the hole.
New batteries are for wimps. This is the X210 quadcopter kit. This is one I built quite a while ago, and I've actually raced this quadcopter in more races than I have any other quadcopter that I've built. I've been real happy with the way that this flies, and I'm real happy with the way that I feel like I can fly. There might be other ones that fly better, but I've had real good luck with this one. But I am always in the mood to look for a new frame, and I found this one. It's called an iX5 200mm, and this one came from Banggood. And one thing that this said down in the description is that it weighed like 64 or 65 grams, which I can't imagine a quadcopter actually being that light. But my curiosity got the best of me, and I went ahead and ordered it. So the iFlight iX5 came in a box like this, and here's all the pieces for it. Now the first thing that I noticed on this is that this is very well cleaned up around the edges. It's actually really beveled, and it's probably the first one I've seen that look like this. And you can, I don't know if you can really, if it's really doing justice on here, but it's really smooth around the edges. And also the screw holes here are just kind of rounded inside a little bit so that the looks like the screws will sit flush on there so they're not eating into your battery. That's one problem I have on some of the other quadcopter frames, is that if you tighten the battery up too tight, and the screws are actually going to push into your battery. Anyway, has some spacers that came with it. This one does not come with a power distribution board. And the pictures had these things coming in blue, and mine were purple. And then I got red screws. So I don't know how red and purple kind of go together, but you know, whatever. Also, there's another set of spacers here. Like, it should have come with a flight board or a power distribution board, I guess. I don't know. Then it came with this little package to add on your GoPro mount up on top of your quadcopter, along with battery strap. And this one, I've seen various colors of this in different reviews. And it came with the 4 little pads for your landing gear, and a little top plate here that has iFlight engraved into it. It's kind of cool. And then this is just in case you want to mount something up on top of your up on top of your flight board. You can use this. So let's get some measurements off of this main plate before we go any further. The main plate is about 4.1 millimeters, probably 4 millimeter plate, and the arms are about 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters, am I zeroed? Yes. Okay, yeah, so they're about 15 millimeter wide and 4 millimeter main plate. That should be plenty of strength. With my X210, it's 4 millimeters, and I've never broken it. Not that they're impossible to break, but 4 millimeters is good if you're trying not to break anything. The top plate's 1.5 millimeters, so it looks pretty cool. There's not really a lot to this. It has a little hole here for the video transmitter, a couple zip tie holders, and hopefully your video transmitter LED lights line up with these holes so that you can actually see what channel you're on or anything else. Also, if you look at this, it has the battery strap holders up here on the top, the holes for a battery strap, and they're also down here on the bottom. So this quadcopter is actually designed to hold the battery either on the top or the bottom, wherever you want it. So here's what it looks like when it's assembled. The purple spacers aren't really grooving much with the red screws, but hopefully if you get one, it'll be a little different color. And there, I got the little board in here just to look like a flight board to give a little bit of idea of how large it's going to be inside there. This frame actually weighs, I mean, it feels like it weighs very little. Now, if you look at this though, you'll notice something a little bit odd about this. It looks like, this is the front down here, it looks like the front arms are a little bit further apart than the back arms. So that's a little bit different than other quads I've seen. So well, anyway, we'll get into measure that in just a second. Also here with the kit, it also came with some extra screws, nylon spacers. It came with 4 extra red screws, and these are a little bit shorter ones. On here I used the 8 longer ones that it came with, and the longer ones are good that they get a little bit more thread into the spacer, and so when you crash, it'll have a lot less tendency to strip out those the threads inside the spacers, which is what you don't want. And also, it came with this extra little package of spacers, and I'm not really sure why, but it came with them. And then it has an extra little screw and a lock nut, and those are to go up here in the front where you can mount your camera to the board here. Because this doesn't come with any side plates to hold your camera mounts, like an HS1177 style. You're going to have to use the mount that actually came with your camera. But it does come with 2, and then an extra one also. Then it has these 4 little screws, and I'm not really sure what These are 4 because I can't find any place that they go and I don't see anything that's missing. So who knows? So anyway, it comes with a lot of spacers. Like the X210 did not come with spacers, and you always had to order extras even if you bought the X210 kit. Here on my scale, I'm gonna go ahead and put this quadcopter on here, and looks like it comes in about 76.8 grams, and that's pretty light in its own, but it's not the 65 grams that are listed on the website. Also, I don't have the little spacers on here. Let me throw these on, and it goes up. No, they didn't even add any weight. I guess that's why a lot of people like them. Also, I don't have the Gopro Mount on here. I think this will add about 20 grams, and 19 grams ish for that. So that's not too heavy, but now we're looking at a 97 gram frame, which is not nearly as exciting as a 60 gram frame. But just for comparison's sake, I do have a Genius 215 quadcopter here. This is the frame with the power distribution board. If I put it on here, it also has a 4mm arms. It comes in at 100 grams, and it's about the same as the other one, with holding the GoPro mount, where this doesn't have one, but it does have the power distribution board in there, because I haven't taken it out yet. As for the GoPro mount, it kind of mounts on Krieger style, where you kind of have the screw goes up through the bottom, and then it has the nut up here, which goes inside of the carbon fiber, and then you tighten it down. Now there are 3 holes on here, which is where you attach these little things on here to separate it so that it just sits right up there. And the only way to really get these things tight is to take the top plate off and loosen those screws, because once you get it like this, it's not going to be real easy to come off of there. But we'll go ahead and do it anyway. So there's the GoPro mount in place. It's kind of tall and goofy looking on a quadcopter like this, but if you have a GoPro, I mean, it's going to be very much appreciated. It's going to keep your GoPro at a pretty good angle. Let's go ahead and weigh this with the GoPro mount on now, and it comes in about 90 grams. So it's not 90.4 grams. So it's not quite as heavy as the other one, even with the power distribution board in it. But this one is actually not too bad. I like the idea of having the GoPro plate up here, but it does add a lot of weight, and it does add a lot of leverage on this to help snap your top plate. And since this is only 1.5 millimeters thick, it's not really going to be, you know, all too hard for a good crash to break. We'll go ahead and measure these spacers to see how tall they are, and they come in about 35 millimeters. So if you wanted to order some different colored ones besides the ones that come with it, 35 millimeters. All right, let's get to measuring this thing, because I think it's going to be a little bit different than what I was expecting to get the thing lined up. There we go. It comes in about a little shy of 200 millimeters, which is good. Maybe 199, maybe right on 200. Anyway, so that's good. Okay, like I was saying before, it looks like the front arms are a little bit further apart, and this being the front up here. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up on the center of this hole, and going across, it comes in about, what is that? 158 maybe, 159, almost 160. Okay, so that's the front. Come back here to the back. I'm going to center this up on the middle, and we're coming in about 145. So it's significantly shorter on the rear motors. That's a little bit interesting. I haven't seen that before. All right, and so from the front to back, I got it centered, you can believe me. I got it about 127, 128, 129, somewhere in there from front to back. So it's actually a little bit more short than it is wide. So that's kind of interesting. And you can definitely see it here that it's actually a little bit wider in the front. Maybe they did that to get the propellers a little bit more out of the way of the camera. Speaking of propellers, here's the propeller. I'm going to go ahead and center it over this hole. And you can see it's going to spin past the frame with no problem there on the front. And on the back here, it's going to spin past, no problem also. Now it's not going under the plate, which is what you don't want. You don't want it to swing underneath this plate, because I like to assume that everything under the plate is going to be safe from the propellers as long as I can keep it tucked in. Now one other thing that's kind of worth noting on this is a lot of people like to take their XT60 connector and tie it down back here in the back with some zip ties. And it does have the zip tie holes back here, but here's an XT60 connector that I pulled off power distribution board that I didn't use. You can see here it won't quite sit down flat inside there, so I don't know, you won't be able to do like you would normally do, have that in there. 14.28 millimeters. Up here in the front, it's 18.08 millimeters between the spacers. I guess you could have it down here on the bottom, and you could use those holes, have the power wires come out of those holes, but now it's going to start interfering with your battery, and sheesh, you don't want this thing coming off. So you're going to have to figure out some other way to do it. Maybe you can mount it upright like this if you wanted to get real crazy, and zip tie it, hot glue it, and and maybe it would hold in place. I don't know. That's kind of dangerous having your leads up that close to your power distribution board. If someone were to push or something like that and slice open your shrink wrap, it wouldn't be too good of a situation. Anyway, so an XD60 connector won't fit back there in the back. That's kind of depressing. The holes here in the arm are either cut for your 1806 size motors or your 2200 size motors. They use these holes out here. And also you can tell they kind of want you to use these because the wires come out between two of these and it will run straight down the arm in this case, whereas an 1806 motor or something is going to come out this way and then have to bend back down the arm. So 2200 size motors. Also, it has this little nub out here on the side, and up here in the front they're kind of pointing forward, and out here they're kind of pointing back. So I think it's mostly just to make it look cool and not look so much like every other frame out there with the rounded ones. So here's the iX5 sitting next to a Genius 215, and with this as a comparison, you can actually see how this is a little bit wider of an X than a standard X is, like the Genius 215. Also, you can tell these are a little bit closer together, and hopefully from this picture or this angle you can tell the front motors are just a little bit further apart than the back ones. And I don't know, I kind of like the idea that, you know, it has this extra space up here, so it needs a little bit more length to clear this, and it doesn't need it back here, so they pulled the arms in a little bit. And you know, anything you can cut off the frame carbon fiber wise or screw wise is just going to make the frame lighter and hopefully fly faster through the air. So here's the iX5 sitting next to my X210. And the X210 just looks massive right now because it has all the components on it. But if you do look, you can tell this body is a lot wider than this one here, and it's pretty much significantly wider. This one here is just wide enough to cover the edges of the flight board inside there. In fact, without the battery strap holders, it wouldn't even cover up the flight board. Now this one here is, you can see that it covers up a lot of the flight board underneath there. There's a lot overhang on this frame here, but I think that's just because they wanted to make it a little bit wider to encapsulate this little camera mount holder system they had. One more quick tip before we wrap up this video. Now let's say it's a flying field and you crash and it rips off this little piece here. Well, you know, getting a new strap on your quad is going to be a real pain, trying to get it up here, route it underneath your fly board and down the other side. So what my friends told me is you take your battery strap like this, you just go ahead and run it straight down through the quadcopter like this, and you pull the strap all the way down till the little buckle gets caught up there. Then take it and run it up this side like this, and then you can put your battery inside there and zip and Velcro this thing right back onto itself like that, and now you don't have anything actually going under the flight board. Now, of course, that's not exactly how they're designed. They're supposed to be designed to go back through this buckle. But like I said, you're at the flight field and you've ripped the strap and you got to get a new strap on quick. This is the easiest way I found to do it. Thanks to Bulldogger for that tip. That was from him. Anyway, this is the iX5 iFlight quadcopter. This is a 90-gram quadcopter with the Gopro mount up here on the top and a little carbon fiber plate inside. No power distribution board, no camera holders. You got to provide your own. Hopefully your camera came with one. But this is the iX5, and I think this is going to be kind of cool. I'm going to try to build this out, and I'll probably use some of the new white bottom motors from EMAX. I got some special edition 2750 kV motors, and because those things are power hungry, I picked up a set of these 40 amp ESCs. These 40 amps don't look ginormous, but I can definitely tell they're a little bit thicker than their 30 amp brothers. So hopefully hopefully I'll get this thing built soon, and hopefully I'll like it good enough to replace my X210 because it has a lot of age on it at this point because I've flown it in a lot of races. It's iX5 200mm frame from Banggood. Take a look at it. If you're interested, I'll have links in the description. If you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. I will try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.